Hello everybody. Today I will be showing you how to use Roblox's new Raycasting function. So as you can see here, we have a start position and an end position, otherwise known as the origin and the target. And if we move them, you'll see that they will block this laser that is going in between both of them. Which is because the ray starts at this position and it fires towards this position. So that is what I will be showing you how to make today. You can use this to script guns. You can use this to do hit detection, tons of other things. As you can see, it goes through pretty complex geometry. It can go through ramps or not go through ramps, but it can touch ramps, as you can see here. And yeah, it can even do this with spheres as well. So now that that's out of the way, let's get right into it. So to start out, it is very important to know exactly what we are doing. So I'm going to be showing you the dev wiki. So as you can see here, this new raycast function is just called by workspace : raycast, right? That's what world root is the workspace. And the parameters that it takes are an origin, a direction, and raycast params, right? So as you can see from this yellow thing right here, this method does not use array object, okay? So if you have any projects in the past that use array object, you won't be using them for this, for this new function. However, you can use the ray.origin and ray.direction of your old scripts and plug them in to this function here, and that will work just fine. So you don't need to worry about that. It is pretty much plug and play from the old one if you used the old one. Otherwise, you will have to, start from scratch, but it is really not that hard. You can do it in just a few lines. And this new raycast params thing right here. I should also go over raycast result. This will return a table if it was hit. Otherwise, it will return nil. And the things that are what it returns in the table is an instance, a position, a normal, and a material. So this works just like the old one. It returns the same things, although this time it will not return a position if it does not hit a target. So keep that in mind. Now let's check out raycast params. So if you call raycast params.new, this will return a new raycast params object, and it does not take any parameters. Okay, so you can't put anything in these parentheses, so you do have to do that afterwards. But filter descendants instances is just an array of objects whose descendants will be used in filtering raycasting candidates. Okay, so that just means that anything inside of the array that you pass into there will either be ignored or whitelisted. It just depends on what you do for the filter type, which is the next one. And this just determines how the filter descendants instances will be used depending on the raycast filter type provided. So the whitelist will only detect objects that are in the filter descendants instances array, and then the blacklist will ignore all the instances inside of the filter descendants instances array. Ignore water will just ignore terrain water if it is set to true. So if you use a part for your water, meaning you use custom water, then you're all good. If you use terrain water and you want it to hit the terrain water, make sure you have that checked. Lastly, we have the collision group. This one we won't need to worry about today, but if you do have a collision group that you want it to either ignore or that you want it to whitelist, make sure that you set the collision group to the one that you want to whitelist. So say I want it to ignore the default, but I want it to target, or I want it to collide with, let's say, bullets, right? Then we'll set the collision group to bullets, if we have a collision group named that, of course. And remember, this does not take an ID, this takes a string, so keep that in mind as well. Now getting into the actual video, what we're going to do is insert a part, and we're going to call this ray origin, I guess. And we can set it to a size of 2 by 1 by 2. It does not matter what you set it to, but this is what I think looks decent. Let's duplicate this by pressing Control and D, and it will spawn a new part right on top of the old one. We just need to click that up and drag it. And then we're going to call this ray target. Press enter. All right. And I'm just going to, or wait, sorry, I did these wrong. So this is the origin. And then this one is the target. So make sure, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but I want the origin to be at the top and the target to be at the bottom. It doesn't really matter. You can do it either way. It's just a preference thing for me. So I'm going to set these can collide off and make them anchored. You do have to make them anchored, but you don't need to turn off can collide. I just want to. I'm going to go ahead and group these together by pressing Control and G. If that doesn't work for you, you can always press this little plus button and search up models, or model, my bad. Now we're going to name this ray test. Let's open it up. We're going to duplicate this part one last time. I'm actually going to make these smooth plastic. I forgot to do that. And this new part we're going to name laser. Okay. And I'm just going to make it a thin part right here. You don't really need to do that, but it just helps you know what this is. So I'm going to make it red. And I'm going to give it a neon material with maybe a 0.3 transparency, I guess. 0.3 works good. All right. And now to get to the scripting side of things. So we're going to insert a script. And inside of here, we're going to say services. Oops, I cannot type services. And we're going to say local run service equals game get service run service, just like that. And then below that, we're going to say we're going to get a miscellaneous section going here. What these are is just a way to separate your variables in your code, makes things look a little bit neater. I'm going to say line thickness equals 0.1. And the line thickness will just be how wide the part is on either axis, the X and the Z, or I guess it's really the X and the Y, but anyways, it just is how thick it is, right? So if you make it really thin, like you make the number really small, it makes it thin like that. And you can just change it with that variable. So below that, we're going to say local origin part, comma, target part equals script.parent.origin. So ray origin, my bad. And then script.parent.ray target. And then above this, I'm going to make a comment. I don't know, the parts representing the start and end of our ray. And then on the line below, we're going to say local laser part equals script.parent.laser, like that. We're also going to say, I don't know, this still goes under miscellaneous. So we're just going to say raycast parameters equals raycast params.new. Keep in mind, you don't need to add any of these gray bits. These are just there for your sake as a reader, so that you know what these do. This tells our raycast function to ignore. Yeah, that works. Okay, and then raycast parameters. Make sure you do parameters and not params. If it highlights blue for right here, then that means you're doing raycast params, and that's not the right one. So we're going to say raycast parameters dot filter descendants instances equals script dot parent dot or colon get children, like that. And one line below, we want to say raycast parameters, spelled that wrong, dot filter type equals enum dot filter type, oh, raycast filter type dot blacklist, which remember means that none of these parts are going to be recognized by the raycast function. It is going to completely ignore them, which is what we want. We don't want this laser to interfere, we don't want this part to interfere, and we don't want this part to interfere. And then the collision group, remember, it will default to default, so we don't need to worry about it this time. And same with ignore water. I don't have any terrain water, so it is all good. I'm going to say local function cast ray, and we're going to say local origin equals origin part dot cframe dot position. Okay, dot position, and then local target equals target part dot cframe dot position. Local direction equals target minus origin, and then we'll say local results equals, I think it's results, is that what it returns? Yeah, result. I just want to make sure I name everything well so that you know exactly what is being defined. Raycast, and then we're going to say origin, comma, direction, comma, raycast parameters. And then if not results, then, and what this is saying is if we didn't get any results returned, then we want to fake it, right? Because I believe I said this earlier, but Raycast does not return anything if nothing is hit. It will return nil, which is, yeah, right here, will return nil. So keep that in mind. Now we're going to say results equals, we're going to make a new table and just say position equals target, I think. And then laser part. If it's not, we can just fix it later. Dot cframe equals cframe.new. I'm going to say origin target, or sorry, origin comma target times cframe.new. We do need to get the distance. We'll put that right here. So local distance, and this is just the distance between the start of the ray and the end, because remember that's not necessarily this distance and this distance, because if it hits the wall right here, it's actually the distance between this and wherever it hit. So we'll say distance equals results dot position minus origin dot magnitude, and the magnitude will just get us the length of the vector. We'll say 0, 0, comma, and then negative distance divided by 2, and then we'll say laser part dot size equals vector3 dot new. We're gonna make an open close parentheses, and then I'm gonna put my cursor inside of there. We're gonna press enter, and it's going to indent like this, and we're gonna say laser, what is it? Is it thickness or line thickness? I kind of want to change that to laser thickness. It's probably better. I don't know why it's line. Laser, oops, laser, okay. Laser thickness, comma, and then we'll just say distance. And that should be good. I'll add a comment here, make sure that if results doesn't exist, we still give it a table with a position value. So now I believe all we have to do is say run service.stat connect open close parentheses, and inside of here we're going to say cast ray. All right, this is going to put 2 parentheses inside of here, only if you use autocomplete, and we want to make sure that those parentheses are gone. We actually just want it to look like this. Okay, so now if we press play, although I actually pressed play, I should have pressed run, but if we press play nonetheless, we should be able to even walk underneath of this, and as you can see, it is hitting our character just as it should. It is on the server, so it will be a little bit behind, but yeah, it is working as intended. If we grab the, or actually, sorry, we need to do this on the server, otherwise it won't replicate. If we grab this and pull it over here, as you can see, it creates the line going all the way over there, and if I switch back to the client, I can walk in front of the ray and block it. Just as you would expect to be able to do, we get out of the way and it will go back to the part. So yeah, I think that is it. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.